No news is, well, no news. As the Deshaun Watson trade rumors heat up, we're all left to decipher fact from fiction. The embattled Houston QB has been most directly linked to the Dolphins and the Panthers as potential trade partners. This comes as the 26-year-old three-time Pro Bowler faces 22 separate allegations of sexual assault or sexual misconduct. The NFL trade deadline is Tuesday, November 2nd at 4 p.m. And for more, we say hello to CBS senior NFL insider Josina Anderson. Josina, some less than stellar quarterback play on Sunday has the Deshaun Watson trade talks expanding beyond just Miami. What can you tell us about those with their name in the hat and how they're approaching the sensitive nature of doing this deal?
Well, first and foremost, we're just 8 days away from the trade deadline on November 2nd, and there are questions that remain when it comes to Deshaun Watson's case civilly and also from a criminal standpoint. Now, from what I understand, Deshaun Watson's attorney was still involved in another trial up through today. And the last time I actually spoke to a league source regarding this situation, I thought it was very interesting that they expressed doubt when it comes to Watson's potential ability to contribute to another team. Now, from all of the things that I have also heard up through this point, you know, the league's desire has not been to act in advance of any legal and or police findings. However, that being said, Watson does remain a member of the Houston Texans, and they don't have to act when he doesn't want to play for that team. That obviously changes when you go to a new team. So potentially any prospective owner would have to make this decision without additional clarity, or at the very best, he would be having at least limited playing time. Now, as we know, deadlines for action. And the one thing I just want to say when it comes to the teams that have been involved, you look at the Miami Dolphins. They've lost 6 straight, obviously, with Tua coming back from the rib injury. You look at the Panthers, they just benched Sam Darnold after a 25-3 loss to the Giants, turning to P.J. Walker, though Matt Rule did say that they were going with Darnold moving forward. You look at a team like the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, with mounting frustration, trying to hold it together for a 2-5 team that's in an impatient city right now. Everything that I've heard when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, that they're going to continue to do their due diligence, and there are obviously internal conversations going with the teams that I mentioned. But one thing to just take into consideration right now, obviously a team has to meet the compensation package and request from the Houston Texans. Time remains to see if they can do any additional creativity to meet that mark. But also, if you look at it from the Texans standpoint, really, there's really no reason for them to act in advance of Sunday, because anything else could happen in those games that could potentially increase their leverage as well.
Yeah, no doubt a lot of moving parts in this situation, but you mentioned it a little bit there. Are these teams or the league dealing with any material, maybe non-public information that would give them peace of mind, at least in moving forward with a potential deal? Or are they essentially mortgaging their future on a guy that could be tied up in court proceedings or worse over the coming years?
Well, I can definitely tell you prospective owners connected to the teams that I have mentioned have been asking their questions behind the scenes, under the table, however you want to say it, just to try to get as much clarity as possible. The problem is that there's really none to be had. The depositions have not happened. The criminal case investigation has not been presented in front of a grand jury. Really, the only path for clarity is to try to have some sort of resolution in the civil settlements prior to that. So right now you're looking at having to make a huge decision as to not having that additional clarity, but potentially looking at a quarterback who is 26 years old and thinking, you know what, at some point this is going to be resolved and adjudicated. And, you know, you're going to have Deshaun Watson potentially from that point moving forward.
All right. Well, we appreciate you getting us up to speed on that topic. We will continue to track it as news does continue to break. But in on-field news, the Cleveland Browns, as we pivot, are trying to work their way back from being the walking wounded, now looking up at up in the standings at both the Ravens and the Bengals. How fresh are they expected to be heading here into Week 8, specifically their feature back there in Nick Chubb?
Well, Nick Chubb missed the last 2 games with the calf injury, but I'm hearing that he is expected to play against the Steelers, provided that there are no setbacks in practice this week. My understanding is that Chubb was even chomping at the bit to be able to play against the Broncos, but decided it was best to potentially just wait for this game. When it comes to the rotation, I hear that when it comes to Nick Chubb, they are going to be watching his game endurance and his fluidity to really determine the amount of load that he has. But the plan is to rotate him in with Dearness Johnson. Dearness should come in there on third downs, and then to also have Demetric Felton potentially contribute in the passing game as well. So that, my understanding, is what they're expecting right now.
Yeah, we definitely saw some pop out of Dearness a week ago. A lot of fun to watch him tote the rock. We'll see if that is again the situation for Cleveland. Elsewhere, I mean, you can call it the curse of the Super Bowl loser. You can call it off-field distractions. You can call it what you want. You just can't call it a good football team. The preseason favorite Kansas City Chiefs sitting at 3-4 following a 27-3 slap in the face against Tennessee. What's ailing the perennial front runners right now, and where's the level of urgency inside the building?
Well, I talked to a team source that definitely said the afterglow is done right now. There is no denying it. It's very easy to ride a smooth road when everything is going your way. But right now, the challenge is for us to see how we deal when things are coming off course. Patrick Mahomes is arguably coming off his worst game of his career with the QBR of 6.0. Yards per attempt at 5.89, and also with 9 interceptions right now when he didn't have any more than 12 in his career over the course of the regular season. The source said that right now I think that Patrick Mahomes is trying to do too much heroics, and that is wearing down on him. You look at the fact that he's had the many offensive line combinations and the acquisition of Orlando Brown, and also the highest paid guard in the league right now, Joe Thuney, not really mitigating the things that he has to kind of overcome. And at this point, though, the source saying that Patrick Mahomes has to be able to show as a leader, as a young leader, that he can pull everybody up when things aren't going our way. And he said sometimes we forget that he is 26. And right now, this is probably the only time that we are remembering it. And lastly, I would just say from a defensive standpoint, the team source also said that right now we can't cover man to man. We're doing too many disguises. Sometimes that creates our own confusion. We're trying to compensate by blitzing too much. Right now, they blitz 33% of the time. That's the 5th most. And they're only generating 8 sacks, which is tied for the fewest right now in the league. And also saying that sometimes our go-to coverages are just too predictable. Lastly, the team source said it's not necessarily Spag's fault, but the blame will go to him because in this league, they're always asking, what are you doing lately for us right now? So they have to turn it around. Not a good look for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have the New York Giants coming up next.
Point the finger where you may. We'll see if all those playmakers can finally get on the same page. Josina, we appreciate the insights on all fronts.